Thanks for joining us here in the tutorial section of ProLingo.com. Today we're going to go over the simple setup of the interpreter control unit for a one-language interpretation setting. This is the back of the Congress Audio interpreter control unit. This is the back of the LT800 stationary transmitter. To set both of these devices up, the first thing you want to do, you want to find the power input located here on the back of the ICU. Simply plug in its power cord to give the device power. The second thing you want to do, you want to bring your line level XLR to the back of the machine, and you're going to plug it in original line in, indicated here as OR in. Now the interpreter control unit at this point has power and a line level feed to the back of the machine. The next thing you want to do is you want to plug in your interpreter control headsets to make sure you're receiving the signal from this XLR. To do that, you'll take one of the interpreter control headsets, and at the bottom there are two 3.5 jacks. The jack with two bands is the headset. The jack with a single band is the microphone. You can also see that on the wire here, it is labeled mic, so there's no confusion. Go ahead and plug in the microphone in the mic input, and then your headphone and the headphone input. Now you're going to repeat this process because most of the time in an interpretation setting, there are two interpreters for a conference. So we're going to go ahead and plug in the other one here. Mic in, headphone in. At this point, you should be able to hear some sort of volume in these headsets. And if you are hearing volume in the headsets, you have that set up properly at this point. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to send the signal from the interpreter control unit to the LT800. Now I've already input the power source for this device. So what we're going to want to look at is our audio output for the ICU, which is located here for out B and out A. What you're going to want to use is the female end of an XLR and plug it in to output A. You hear the click, it's in place. Then you find the male end of the XLR, and then on the back of the machine here, line 1, which is our XLR input. Go ahead and enter the cable there. You'll hear a click. And now the back of these machines are set up properly, and now we can go into the test phase of the setup. Now that we have both machines hooked up properly, you're still going to need to turn on your LT800. When you plug in the power source of the interpreter control unit, it'll automatically be powered on, but not the LT800. So we'll go ahead and select power for that. Now we had a line level feed into our audio input for the ICU, and we checked that by listening through the headsets for the interpreter control unit. And a quick way to find out if you've hooked up the ICU to the LT800 properly is that when you turn on the LT800, the same sound that you were hearing in these headsets will be indicated on the front of the machine. So we've done that properly. The next thing you want to do, you want to test the volume level in the interpreter control headset for your interpreters, simply turning the volume knob here and here. On the back of the machine, there is a original line gain. If this volume isn't sufficient, you can go ahead and adjust that to better tune the device. A few things that are very key that you want to keep in mind on the ICU is that for each mic 1 and mic 2, the setting is switched to OR, which is original line in, and then make sure that 2 is also in the same position, and then that your center switch is not in English, but your center switch is in foreign. When it is time for your interpreters to start speaking at your conference, whether it's mic 1 or 2, you're going to go ahead and select the mic, and you will see the lights from the original line feed from the ICU to the LT800 be interrupted. Because now what it's going to do, it's going to pick up my voice on the ICU headset, and you'll be able to indicate that here on the LT800 as shown. Now when your interpreter is finished speaking, they simply hit the mic button, and it'll go back to the original line feed for your audience. You can do the same test for mic 2. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, and 3. Now while your interpreters are speaking on the microphone, if it sounds distant through the receiver here, one of the things that is very important is to check to make sure that your interpreter has the microphone as close to their mouth as possible without the signal being distorted. A lot of times in interpretation settings, the microphone will be away from the mouth or in this position. So it's very important to check that first before adjusting any knobs whatsoever. On the LT800 itself, if you're having a hard time hearing the vocal of the interpreter, check your contour knob here. You might want to adjust that more towards the clockwise position to give yourself a little clearer signal. As always, the display window here is indicating that it is channel A for broadcast. Channel A corresponds with the number 1 on the PL6 receiver. That description of the channels to the letter for transmission purposes will be listed below in the description of this video if you have any questions about that. And this is the simple setup of the interpreter control unit. If you have any questions, or if you're interested in renting or purchasing this equipment, please give us a call at 1-800-287-9755. Thanks for watching this tutorial on ProLingo.com.